Shalom to all the 12 tribes of Israel scattered abroad on the four corners of this earth. Slakia. All the men, women, and children going through everything, all the conflicts, all the rain, snow, everything that it is to put their foot down for the name of the Lord, to magnify the name of the Lord, to bring all these words out for the name of the Lord. Shalom to them. So today, what we're going into is being sluggard or being slothful. So, as if you don't know now, that you do know now, you can't have a sluggard spirit, slow to do something, slow to get up and study, slow to read, slow to fast, slow to do any of these things. It's even slow to get up to go to work, slow to provide for your family, slow to do any of these other things. On the other hand, you can't be any of that because the Lord's not dealing with that, right? So this is going to be a short video. It's not going to be too long. I'm just going in on why you can't be sluggard or why you can't have a slothful spirit. So first thing we're going to go into is Proverbs 6:6. Let me make sure this. Okay, let's making sure that was sharing. Right. All right, Proverbs 6:6. Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways and be wise. So as you know, an ant isn't sluggard. They gotta build up their house, build up their foundation. They gotta make sure they have food provided for their queen. They don't just sit there and just go here and then just sit here. No, they're constantly working. Every single day they're working. Every day. And as you know, they work as a team too. They're not just because that. Well, how could you make an ant pile if it was just you by yourself? They work as a team. They work as a congregation. So it's many of them on the same accord, which is okay. We need to go out and provide. We need to go out and do this. We need to go out and do that. They're all under one accord, doing the will of their queen. So it says, "Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways and be wise, which have no guide over, which have no guide, overseer or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer and gathereth her food in the harvest. How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise out of thy sleep?" So that's pretty plain. That's saying how long are you going to be asleep? How long are you? And it's not a set when you're in that sluggard spirit or that slothful spirit. It's no telling how long you're going to be in that. So you may think, oh, I'm just gonna take this day off, or I'm just gonna take this day off. That day comes, now you're saying, oh, okay, I'm just give me another day, basically. Just give me another hour, give me another second. And we do that with our alarms. An alarm will go off. You quick to put your black hand on the snooze. Quick, very quick. You snooze, then 10 minutes later, whatever the case may be, you snooze again. 10 minutes later, you snooze again, and now it's that time where you actually have to get up. But what are you dealing with now? You have snoozed so many times. Now you're mentally drained and physically drained. You're mentally and physically tired to where now it's a must that you have to get up, but now you don't feel like getting up. So now you're gonna call in. Now you're going oh, I'm gonna take this day off. Oh, I don't need to do this. I don't need to do that right now. Oh, I could go without it. Then so long of that comes to you'll start to actually do that throughout your day. You'll start to actually delay everything. You'll never prosper, never bloom your flowers how you're supposed to bloom them. You'll never gather your fruit how you're supposed to gather it. If you have ears to hear, let them hear. So it's like it. Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So you just okay. I'm gonna just take a 1 hour power nap real quick. and then you that leads to 2 hours, and that leads to 3 hours. Now you wake up and the sun is down. You wake up and the sun is down. You know, then you start doing that throughout your day. You start thinking you need a nap like a 2 year old or like a 3 year old or not 3, like a 2 year old or something. Like you just need naps. Like you just need power naps to sustain you. Then you start saying, okay, I need power sleeps. Now you're sleeping throughout the day, and that's carnally. How much more spiritually when you're not reading, right? So shall thy poverty come as one that travaileth, and thy want as an armed man. See that? So that's when you're folding your hands, cracking your knuckles, laying in bed, putting that cover all over you, letting it fall down on you, is when your poverty is going to come as one that travaileth. You're going to wake up, you're going to get a phone call, you're fired. You're going to wake up, they're coming to take your car. You're going to wake up, electricity's out. You're going to wake up, your water don't work, your stove don't work. All these things are going to happen if you're being sluggard. But how much more spiritually if you're being sluggard with the scriptures, right? So, and not a person and wicked man walking with a froward mouth. Okay, so that's all I want on that. So we're gonna go to Proverbs 19 and 15. So to get yourself ahead of the game, you always want to be what would you call it? Like you'll always be you need to always do stuff that you don't feel like doing, basically. And we're naturally not going to want to do these things in this flesh, because we're spirit inside of the flesh, which is why I titled it "Don't be a sluggard, don't be a sluggard person / spirit," because you can be a sluggard in your spirit and you can be sluggard in your flesh. Neither one of those should be sluggard if you're trying to get to the kingdom of heaven. So 15, slothfulness casteth into a deep sleep, and an idle soul shall suffer hunger. So that's pretty much going into the ant. Be like the ant. Matter of fact, let's go to that real fast. It's like, yeah. Six and 6. Provideth her meat in the summer and gathereth her food in the harvest. So they don't really have to go out. Some may, some do, but they don't have to go out when it's pure snow and they can't get anything because they gather it for the winter or for the summer or for whatever element that it is that will kill them. They have that food still sitting there. How much more for you? It's like, yeah. So like I'm trying to find what I want real quick. So there is a way that seemeth right unto man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. So it may feel good with let me take a break. Let me do me. Let me get some me time. And that's what a lot of people do with this. They think that this isn't the me time. They think that this is a what do you call it? They feel like this is a chore, or they feel like that's it takes you away from being you, basically. The whole time If you don't have this, you're not living in you. You're living in a demonic vessel, right? Or I wouldn't even say you're living in a demonic spirit inside of that vessel, which Yahweh Bashem Yahushua created, so that He can dwell in it. But if He's not dwelling in it, who else is dwelling in it, right? So it says, there's a way that seemeth right unto man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. The end thereof. So you could be doing this thing. It may feel good to you. You may think, let me take a break. Let me call off. Let me not go into the words of the Lord today. It may feel right onto you, but suddenly your the folding of the hands. Paraphrasing, it's going to come like like one that travaileth. So and travaileth is giving birth. So when your problems and your conflicts come at a sudden, a big smack to your face, you're going to try to wake up, but it's going to be too late sometimes. Lord forbid it's too late, but you're going to try to wake up. It's going to be 10 times harder for you to get back into the truth, because now you're going through all this and all that. So that's why, the end thereof are the ways of death, right? Let's go back to 19. Slothfulness casteth into a deep sleep, and an idle soul shall suffer hunger. So yes, you'll suffer hunger. You won't be you won't have that food stored up, which spiritually you won't have that spirit or the precepts built up in your head to be able to survive in these elements, to be able to survive in all the hard times, all the pain that this truth comes with. You won't be able to suffer through it, or you won't be able to push through it if you were being slothful, because your spirit is pretty much broken, right? That's why it's saying, don't be slothful. Slothfulness casteth into a deep sleep, and an idle soul shall suffer hunger. Be like the ant, right? You got to be like the ant. You have to be like the ant. So let's go to Proverbs 16 and 27, but a different version. Let me see. So, and let's just put it in context of 16 and 25. So this is the KJV version. We're going to read the TLB right after, where it says, "There is a way which seemeth right unto man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. He that laboreth for himself, for his mouth craveth it for him." Right? 27. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. Idle lips are his masterpiece. That's a good translation to understand what that idle time would do to you. The idle time will kill you. The idle time will sift you right up out of the truth. Slowly but surely, though, you'll be thinking, okay, essentially what's going to happen is you're going to become reprobated. You're going to be thinking right is left, left is right. You're going to be thinking you're doing everything right. The more sluggard and the more idle you'll be, the more time you have on your hands to do wicked. And we all heard that the saying, what is Slocky? I can't remember what it is. Like, idle time is the devil's playground. This pretty much is saying exactly that. Idle time is the devil's playground. He loves when a person is idle. He loves it. He can use them for anything. He can out of nowhere pop up a thought for that person while he's idle, and now he's going to be doing nothing but wickedness. Right? So don't be idle. Do not be idle. Do not be slow to do things. Do not be slow to get up. Do not be, for the most part, slow to get into these scriptures, slow to study. If you have to have a study time, write down a little list. study this time, do this that time, do this that time, then do this. You got to do it. The Lord said, work out thy own salvation. You know, however it is that you get to the kingdom, you got to set your things, set your goals and boundaries, and do and execute them. You can't set. Now this is how you're gonna know if you're in a sluggish spirit, is if you set them, but then you're hitting that snooze button on them when the times come up when you're supposed to do what you have written down. You're gonna be hitting that snooze button. So it's better to see it than to not see it and just hit that snooze button. Have a schedule. Have a schedule. Have a set schedule when you're going to do stuff, when you're going to study, when you're going to go into the Word, and then execute them. Right, and you'll show progression when you do it too. Right, so that's all I'm really wanting to go in today. Don't be a sluggard. Don't have a sluggard spirit. Don't be the sluggard guy or the sluggard girl or the sluggard child. Don't be any of these things, because the end thereof are the ways of death, and you're not going to see it because you're not going to see it, and it's going to come like a woman that's travailing. It's going to come and it's going to smack you like a train. You're not going to be ready for it, and you're going to be thinking, how do I get out of this? Not how do I you're going to be thinking, how do I get out of this position that I'm in that's very deep, rather than how do I come back to the Most High? So it's going to be a big distraction for you, slowly but surely. So that's all I really got today. Hopefully this is edifying to the elect's sake. Hopefully this gets spread to the elect's sake. Right. So that's really all I got today. Shalom.